Edwin Encarnacion with a terrific finish to his road trip. Encarnacion on the trip hit 4 home runs, drove in 10, and had an even 300 batting average over the 10-game road trip. The Yankees are in town, and the last time the Blue Jays saw the Yankees, they were being swept in New York. Joe Girardi's ball club lost 2 of 3 to the Orioles at home before coming here last night. This is a 3-game series. Let's take a look at the lineup for the New York Yankees. Brett Gardner, top of the order, has been tough, and he has been a real thorn in the Blue Jays side, hitting .346. Ichiro Suzuki, over his last 15 games, has hit .326, 15 for 46, 3 RBIs and 3 runs, and Ichiro has got his stroke back.
5th career start for young Marcus Strowman. Last time out, he faced these same New York Yankees, and it was his shortest outing since joining the rotation. Yankees didn't get their first hit until the 3rd inning, but they really worked over Marcus Strowman, especially early in the game. Brett Gardner led off the game with a 12-pitch at bat. He finished with 98 pitches, 3 2/3 innings. First start, less than 6 innings, and his 2nd straight loss.
Well, he's going to have to be more efficient tonight, no question about that. And he has to deal with Brett Gardner right out of the chute. Gardner with a .346 career average, and he's hit 7 home runs against the Blue Jays.
Yeah, 7 home runs, and he's got 29 career home runs. So a quarter of them have come at the hands of the Blue Jays. Go figure.
Time to come up with a new scouting report. Strowman is set. Gardner's in the box. Here's the first pitch of the ball game. Upstairs, and we are underway. Brett Gardner for the season batting .287. He's a terrific leadoff man in that he makes the pitcher throw a lot of pitches.
Yeah, he is not afraid to hit with 1 strike or even 2 strikes. He does his job as the leadoff man. Work him over.
There's a good fastball that's fouled back. Gardner was a bit late. We've not seen Strowman's real good curveball since that Kansas City outing. He had a great curveball that first start against Kansas City. We've not seen that consistently from Strowman.
Where it's a fastball, or excuse me, a breaking ball that's over the strike zone and then out of the strike zone. It was moving, but not as much as that start that you were just talking about. Another thing that I think is going to be important for Marcus tonight is use his changeup. This is a good Yankees team with good off-speed hitters. Foul off a lot of pitches, but you got to get that 3rd pitch in there somehow.
Pretty good pitch off the plate inside. Laz Diaz is the home plate umpire. Blue Jays finished up a 10-game road trip, 3-7. They're back home where they've got to get things turned around.
Brett Gardner, you talk about home runs. This is off Marcus Strowman, a breaking ball. You can see it was flat. He picked it up right out of his hand, and he hit it right off the foul pole down the right field line. This was after that 12-pitch first at bat in the 1st inning.
Another extended at bat for Brett Gardner. He's among the best in baseball at making that pitcher work. Carlos Beltran, the veteran switch hitter, is on deck. There's a fly ball to right. Anthony Gose is in right field. He makes the catch, and Gardner's retagged. Take a look at the defense behind Marcus Strowman. It's Cabrera, Rasmussen, and Anthony Gose. Gose making his first start of the season in right field. Juan Francisco will fill in at 3rd base for the injured Brett Lloyd. Reyes and Kawasaki up the middle. Encarnacion is at first, and Navarro is behind the plate for Marcus Strowman.
And if we see Jose Bautista out of the lineup for a couple of days, you will see Gose and Pilar. A little bit of a tandem in the outfield while Bautista gets better. There's Kevin right there. A platoon, I guess you'd say.
Kevin Pilar has been swinging a red-hot bat over the last 10 games for Buffalo. There's another strike. Quickly 0-2 to Carlos Beltran. Off to a bit of a slow start. This is his first season with the Yankees. Beltran's now 37 years old. Originally drafted by the Kansas City Royals.
Hit a big walk-off home run for the Yankees at Yankee Stadium right after we left there.
There's the good curveball. Beltran strikes out. 2 up, 2 down for Strowman here in the first.
Let's take a look at the pitch selection and the pitch usage that Marcus Strowman will have tonight against the New York Yankees. Fastball, I think, is going to be very important for him. He's going to have to throw it for strikes. And then his breaking ball, he's got a slider and a cutter combination and a curveball, and he's going to have to mix in his changeup.
2 down, Jacoby Ellsbury. He, like Beltran, in his first year with the Yanks. Ellsbury signed a 7-year free agent contract this past offseason. Another good fastball. It sails off the plate outside.
Marcus Strowman did not pitch poorly at the beginning of the game in New York. Like we were saying, they didn't get their first hit until the 3rd inning. What they did a really good job of is really working him over, making him throw a lot of pitches. He had 3 walks in those 3 2/3 innings.
Number 9 hitter Kelly Johnson got the first hit off Strowman in the 3rd. Ball on a strike. I like the tempo that Strowman has started with tonight. Really upbeat tempo.
Work a little quicker. I like that. If he stays right where that number 3 pitch is on pitch tracker, he'll be fine.
Colby Rasmus was shaded over toward the alley in left center. He runs it down. Good start for Marcus Strowman. 16 pitches, and he retires the side in order. Jose Reyes at the top of the order. He's got a lot of fans here at Rogers Center. Then Melky Cabrera is in the 2 spot, and Melky has hit well all season long against the New York Yankees. A .375 average, 9 for 24 with 4 home runs. He's also driven in 5, and then down in the cleanup spot, Edwin Encarnacion. His last 8 games, he has been on fire once again. 4 home runs and 9 RBIs, and that home run at Yankee Stadium got him going once again.
Yes, it did. 8th start of the season for tonight's starter, Chase Whitley. And he's trying to win his 4th straight start. He hasn't given up more than 2 earned runs in his last 4. He's done it with a fastball and a great changeup. He's come in here and he's really solidified this Yankee starting rotation. Joe Girardi says, I don't know where he'd be without him. He has really done a good job. Came out of nowhere, out of their farm system.
The Yankees are 23-11 in games started by rookies, and Chase Whitley is one of those 3 rookies in the rotation. He throws out of the stretch. We saw this at Yankee Stadium. He's a former reliever that's been pressed into action as a starter, and he's more comfortable throwing out of the stretch. It certainly has given him good command.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, this guy just does not walk anybody. You saw it on that numbers board right there that he had 26 strikeouts and just 4 base on balls. He's around the plate. I don't think we saw him at his finest in New York. He was a little wild, and the Blue Jays got him out after 5 innings. Wild for him, I guess.
Yeah, he gave up 5 hits, 2 earned runs over 5 innings, but The Yankees won that game 7-3.
I thought the Blue Jays in that game did a really good job against him, working him over just like their hitters worked over Marcus Strowman. They really got deep into counts, made him throw a lot of pitches.
Reyes reaches for it and pokes it into the seats. Reyes was not in the lineup on Sunday because he had fouled the ball off his leg in the Saturday game, and he had to be pressed into action once Jose Bautista left with that hamstring problem. It's been a little bit of a struggle for him lately. There's that good changeup, and that's the scouting report that Kevin Seitzer gave his hitters. First strikeout of the night for Whitley. Take a look at the defense. Good speed in the outfield. Gardner, Ellsbury, and Suzuki, all three of them can play center field. Kelly Johnson, the former Blue Jays, at third base. Brendan Ryan, a real defensive wizard at shortstop. Former Oriole Brian Roberts is at second. Mark Teixeira, Gold Glover at first, and Ryan McCann behind the plate.
No Derek Jeter tonight. He started 61 of their 74 games, so Brendan Ryan will make his 8th start at shortstop. And I'll tell you, there is no drop-off when it comes to fielding with this guy. He is really good.
The Yankees signed him quickly as insurance against Derek Jeter's comeback. Melky Cabrera just keeps wearing out the Yankees. Jumps on the first pitch and drives it all the way into center. Melky Cabrera posts into second with a 1-out double.
He keeps that hitting streak alive against the New York Yankees. He's not going to waste any time. First pitch, fastball looked like they tried to sink it, but it's off. Whitley will turn over his fastball. Melky was waiting for him. Said, I'm not going to get to 2 strikes where I'll see that changeup. First pitch, fastball. Blue Jays have a runner in scoring position.
19th double of the season. Melky Cabrera just lights up when he sees the Yankee pinstripes, that's for sure. 20 straight games he's hit now against the Yanks. Adam Lynn back in the lineup. Lynn had a couple of base hits in the Cincinnati series. Fouled the ball off his foot in Baltimore and was out of the lineup. Now he's good to go, and it's timely now with the loss of Bautista for a couple of days. There's a looper into right field. That's going to drop. Melky Cabrera got a good read, and he's going to score easily. The Blue Jays jump out on front 1-0. Adam Lynn with the RBI, his 20th.
No Jose Bautista, so John Gibbons will move up a hot hitter, and Adam Lynn hitting .338 coming into this game, and he's not going to wait around. That's another sinking fastball that stays over the middle of the plate about thigh high. You can see that ball starting to go down, but it doesn't go down far enough. And on the turf here, Ichiro Suzuki in the right field had to lay back just a little bit on that base hit in the right field. That allows Melky to score.
Melky Cabrera with the 1-out double. Lynn drives him home. Edwin Encarnacion takes one downstairs. Edwin, we mentioned his last 8 games. He's at .375. That's got his average up to .266.
Great production from Encarnacion. 63 RBIs.
Big swing, and he fouls that off the end of the bat. Edwin leads the American League in home runs and RBIs. Nelson Cruz of the Orioles has 23 homers. Miguel Cabrera of the Tigers has 61 RBIs.
He'll take a shot early in the at-bat and pulling the ball and trying hitting it out of the yard, but if he falls behind, he can shoot the ball the other way. And this time with a runner at first base, Mark Teixeira, the first baseman's got to hold Adam Lynn on a little ground ball to the right side. Lynn's going to go to third, and Encarnacion's going to have a hit.
2 balls and a strike. Ball in the dirt, backhanded by McCann. So Blue Jays have Whitley in a bit of a jam here in the first. Kobe Erasmus has moved up into the 5th spot tonight. He's on deck. There's that little bleeder over the right side. Broken bat base hit. Nothing like it.
You know, early in the count, he'll think about pulling the ball and knocking it out of the ballpark or getting an extra base hit. But you could see him in his warm-ups. He's thinking the other way. It looked like a breaking ball, and he just shoots it the other way for an easy hit. That will get you off to a good start tonight. You can see the inside-out type of approach that Encarnacion had on that ball. Cutter.
It's a big target over there on that right side of the infield. He hit it right off the end of the bat. The bat explodes, but Encarnacion gets a hit. 3 straight hits now. Double, single, single. Colby Rasmus. He hasn't missed a beat since coming off the disabled list. First pitch changeup and a good one.
And Colby's whole mindset since he has come off the disabled list is not to do too much. Let's try and think right back through the middle. I'm going to try and take one right over the pitcher's head. That is the approach that his hitting coach, that right there, Kevin Seitzer, had when he was a player and has with Colby.
Rolls over this one. Texeira has to go to first, and that's all they'll get. The runners advance second and third now. With 2 outs. There's going to be some discussion about that last swing, and that's exactly what you were talking about. The changeup, and he rolled over on it and grounds out to first.
Yeah, if you recognize that changeup, you can see it out of his hand. If you're thinking back through the middle, you're not going to be out in front. Colby has really found a good teacher in Kevin Seitzer. He'll go and he'll sit right down next to him. They'll talk about the at-bat. They'll discuss what happened to him there, and they'll formulate a better game plan.
Seitzer will generally let the hitter go out to the field and play a half inning before he talks about that last at bat. 2 outs now. Deanna Navarro with a chance to cash in a couple more runs. Well, the Blue Jays really have to be thinking about that changeup. He doesn't throw 95, so you don't really have to get that bat going. And the changeup is his best pitch.
Yeah, and I think that's why if your approach is right back through the middle, you can still pull his fastball or his cut or whatever, but you're going to look bad on the changeup.
And if you look for an off-speed pitch, you might break your bat like Encarnacion, but you're going to have a chance to put the ball in play. 1-0 Blue Jays. Adam Lynn with an RBI single. Blue Jays have scored a run on 3 hits in the first. Brian McCann, the catcher, asked for time, and Diaz made sure that Whitley didn't start his delivery. McCann wants to go over the signs again. There's a liner to first, and that'll end the inning. Navarro may have broken his bat. Chase Whitley gets out of it, but Blue Jays score a run on 3 hits in the first. Marcus Strowman has an early lead thanks to Adam Lynn, a 1-out RBI single into right.
Jays on Sportsnet. Brought to you by the 2014 Honda Civic, Canada's best-selling car 16 years in a row, and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays. And by Home Hardware, homeowners helping homeowners with expert advice.
Welcome to Rogers Center. The roof is closed. There are thunderstorms in the area, so it can start at least. The roof is closed. Blue Jays have a 1-0 lead. Marcus Strowman retired the side in order in the first inning. Switch hitting first baseman Mark Teixeira takes his strike. Teixeira had a scare in yesterday's game when he was hit by a pitch on his right foot. And initially, he thought it may have been broken. But X-rays proved negative, and he's back in the lineup today.
Yeah, had to leave that ball game yesterday after getting hit. Slammed his helmet down because he's been dealing with injuries the last couple of years, and it's very frustrating. It gets real old when you start getting hurt and you're not feeling too well. You're right, he thought he had broke his foot when he got hit with that pitch, but he's okay, back in there tonight.
Actually, it was his left foot as he was batting right-handed against T.J. McFarland, left-hander against the Orioles. He played just 15 games last year, and that's why he's so sensitive about the possibility of missing more time.
Missed some time already this year with inflammation in that wrist.
Good breaking ball. Teixeira strikes out already. We've seen a better breaking ball from Strowman tonight.
Tighter spin, a little bit sharper, thrown right out of the same arm slot as his fastball, and this one looks like a strike and goes straight down. That's a good breaking ball.
Brian McCann, the catcher. McCann asked for time as he was being rushed a bit. He had a big game against the Jays on Wednesday in that series in New York. 2-run home run and a 3-run triple. First time a Yankee catcher had a triple and a home run and 5 RBIs in a ball game since Ellie Howard did it in 1962.
Well, that should get the fans on his side, shouldn't it?
They weren't on his side yesterday. They booed him after he popped up with some runners on base, and that was the first time he'd heard the Bronx cheer, that's for sure. Bounced foul. But he signed a lucrative free agent contract, and his batting average is .222. He's been productive. He got 8 homers and 34 RBIs.
And which is much better. That ball just inside. Tried to bring that fastball back on the inside corner. 34 RBIs for a catcher. That's not too shabby.
Nice play by Encarnacion. He'll wave Strowman off. Edwin was out working early with Louis Rivera, the infield and third base coach, and his early work proves to be effective.
Working on coming off the bag and picking up the baseball off the bat. He was also working on throws in the dirt, trying to pick it, and it comes in handy right here as he goes down to get that one. Get that glove down, stay right with it, and record the out over first base.
Kelly Johnson takes his strike. Johnson had 2 of the 4 hits against Strowman in that outing in New York. In fact, he got the first base hit for the Yankees that night. He's quickly behind 0-2. It's got to be a different feeling for Strowman pitching in this game. Second time facing the Yankees without so many family and friends in attendance. New York is his home. There's a fly ball to the left. Should be an easy play for Cabrera. Another easy inning for Marcus Strowman. Looks much more confident, much more comfortable tonight against the Yanks. This Cottage in the City weekend will take place the last weekend of June, June 27th, 28th, and 29th. The Blue Jays take on the Chicago White Sox. Bring the Cottage to the city of Toronto for the weekend. Enjoy the pregame festival outside of Gate 10. There's live music, a licensed area, sun and sand. The 200-level outfield will be turned into a porch oasis. Call the Blue Jays for tickets at 416-341-1234 or log online at bluejays.com. Cottage in the City weekend. Juan Francisco batting 7th. We'll start things off for the Jays. Francisco batting .239. He struck out 13 times in 9 games on the road trip, and the scouting report is out.
Yeah, they are just feeding him off-speed pitch after off-speed pitch. There's another one. Change-up, curveball, slider, doesn't matter. Anything but a fastball. So he's just going to have to recognize that just a little bit quicker, stay back. If he does that, he's going to be just fine.
Francisco hit a pinch hit home run in Cincinnati in that dramatic comeback on Friday night. You can see his numbers over the last 17 games. He's averaged more than a strikeout per game. So he's got to make some adjustments at the plate. He adjusted that one, stayed on it, and went the opposite way. That'll get the attention of Kevin Seitzer.
Yes, and put a big smile on his face also. You don't have to swing so hard because he is so big and so strong. Take a nice easy swing, a nice easy path to the baseball, and you'll be fine.
Have you ever been around a more prepared hitting coach than Kevin Seitzer?
No.
I haven't either. It's incredible.
I've been around some really good hitting coaches. I mean, really good ones. Charlie Lau when I spent some time with the Chicago White Sox and the New York Yankees. Bobby Bonds when I was with the Cleveland Indians.
Kevin Seitzer prepares as if he were playing. He thinks about how a guy is going to try to get you out. He's going to look at video of similar hitters to his hitters and draw comparisons on the approach. And he's just really well prepared.
Yeah, and he's got a grading system on every one of these guys at bats.
Kawasaki singles over the shortstop into center. Back-to-back singles. Opposite field approach has worked early. That's 5 hits through the first 8 batters.
3 of them have gone the other way. You got to stay on that off-speed pitch. If he sinks you a fastball like that one right there, just stay right on it. You have to have plate coverage against a pitcher like Chase Whitley, and that is plate coverage right there by Kawasaki.
The Blue Jays strand a pair in the first. They scored just 1 run. They left runners at second and third. Anthony Gose, the number 9 hitter. Yankees are looking for a bunt.
And if he bunts, how about taking 1 shot at for a drag bunt for a base hit?
Swinging away, and he fouls it back. Anthony played 3 games after his demotion back to AAA Buffalo. He played in a doubleheader on Saturday, single game yesterday. Overall, he was 1 for 10 since he left the Blue Jays. I think John Gibbons is thinking, hey, you know what? I don't want to give away an out. The Yankees can score a ton of runs just like we can. Let's see if we can have a big inning.
They're hitting Chase Whitley. They didn't do that in New York.
Here's the 1-1 pitch. Those tried to check and went around. Another good changeup. Oh, there's late life on that changeup.
Yeah, it looks like a split finger, doesn't it? The action on the ball as it comes towards home plate drops straight down. It looks like he throws it so hard and it just comes out and disappears.
There's a base hit into right. Francisco's going to be held at third. 3 hits in a row to start the second.
After a great changeup that there was a check swing by Anthony Gose, it looked like he tried to fool him and slipped a ball by him. That was firm inside, about belt high. That just a bad 2-strike pitch right there.
McCann slid to the inside corner. He gave him that target inside, and Gose was able to pull it through the hole at first. Bases loaded. Leadoff man Jose Reyes. He struck out in the first.
Don't be too anxious right now. See, I think what Reyes is going through right now, he hit the home run off of Tanaka. And sometimes that's the worst thing that a player could do, because then they think that they can hit extra base hits with every swing. And he's been swinging a little bit too hard. Swing's been a little bit too long. He needs to dial it down just a little bit.
First time through the order, the Blue Jays have 6 hits. Last time Whitley started against him, he held him to 5 hits over 5 innings. A couple of grand slams for the Blue Jays shortstop. Broken bat. Roberts at second. Long toss to second. That's all they're going to get. They throw behind Kawasaki. Well, that's a long way to try that backhanded flip, and he didn't get much on the throw, and all Ryan could do was get the force at second. Francisco scores.
They also had, the Blue Jays had Anthony Gose running at first base, and with his speed, he's going to get right on top of that shortstop. That's a long throw, backhanded throw, but look at Gose going hard into second base to try and disrupt Brendan Ryan.
Reyes picks up his 20th RBI.
He did the right thing. If he tries to throw that, he might have thrown it away.
Time was out when Whitley threw that ball to first. Las Diaz making sure that everybody understood that. Melky Cabrera extend his personal hit streak to 20 games against the Yankees. He doubled and scored in the first.
Upset with himself right there. Hitting just .235 with runners in scoring position. He's got a runner at third base and less than 2 outs. And he went after the first changeup he saw.
Kawasaki at third, Reyes at first, and now Chase Reyes back. Jose is 15 for 16 in steals this season. Brian McCann has thrown well so far in his first year with the Yanks. Caught 37% of the base stealers. Melky Cabrera, after that first swing at that pitch down and away, probably changed his sights.
Yeah. Remember his first time up, got a fastball and doubled to right center field. Well, you're not going to get another fastball on the first pitch. Had a wild swing at the first pitch, and now he has slowed things down.
Well, I think here's where you really got to look changeup. It's 2-1. Changeup is Whitley's best pitch, and he's not going to give you that fastball on a fastball count.
He might try and throw a cutter right here to see if he can jam up Melky Cabrera. But I'm with you. Change. Another one.
Well, he's got good arm action on that changeup. Just exactly like his fastball. Blue Jays have added a run here in the second. They lead 2-0. Full count. Lind on deck. He drove in the first run of the ball game.
Got to start the runner here, don't you?
Absolutely. Reyes with great speed. You got to make sure the pitcher goes home. There he goes. Ground ball through the left side. What a thing of beauty. Reyes will go first to third. Melky Cabrera is 2 for 2.
And another base hit the other way. He finally learned his lesson on the third swing. Stay back just a little bit. There's money over there. And he's money right here. Sinking fastball, he just slashes it the other way. That'll score Kawasaki from third, and it'll send Jose Reyes first to third. John Gibbons starts the runner, stay out of the double play, and work to perfection.
For Cabrera, his 39th RBI. He is 2 for 2 already tonight. Reyes goes first to third. Ball was right in front of him. So Larry Rothschild, the pitching coach, had a brief meeting with Chase Whitley. Now Lind will step in, and Lind had the RBI single to right his first time up. Going after that first pitch. Lind has changed his program a little bit of late. There for a while he was taking every first pitch he saw, and now lately he's been jumping on that first pitch.
Yeah, falling behind too, and he said, I'm not going to do that. Blue Jays have been on the changeup so far. Maybe they start looking for something a little harder.
There's a deep drive to center. Ellsbury back looking up. Goodbye home run.
Good to get his bat back in the lineup, isn't it? Came into this game .338 average, but he missed some time after he fouled a ball off of his foot. His 4th home run of the season, and that's a breaking ball out over the plate. Adam Lind puts a charge into that one to center field. 3-run homer.
6-0 Blue Jays. Encarnacion takes a strike. Edwin had a broken bat opposite field single. Joe Girardi hasn't got on the bullpen phone at all. First game of a series. Tough to have to go to your bullpen very early in a game. Lind is 2 for 2. He's driven in 4. And that'll make you feel good.
That'll make him feel good right there. Watch it. The production from his left-hander.
Blue Jays have a 1.5 game lead over the Yankees and the Orioles. They are both a 1.5 game back, tied for second. One ball, 2 strikes, still just 1 out. Major League home run later, Edwin Encarnacion. Nelson Cruz of the Orioles. We'll see Jose Abreu of the White Sox over the weekend. Another base hit to right. Encarnacion snuck one off the glove of Mark Teixeira. He stayed with it. He's 2 for 2.
Well, you can just see the approach at the plate by Edwin, especially when he gets to 2 strikes. If you're going to give me the whole right side of the infield, I'm taking it and I'm going to get myself a base hit. Look at what he gets to shoot for. Inside out swing. Mark Teixeira dives for it. It's off of his glove, and another base hit for the Blue Jays. That's 9 already.
Yankees bullpen still quiet. 6 runs on 9 hits. Adam Lind with the only home run so far. That ball is bounced in the dirt, and Encarnacion holds his ground at first. Rasmus rolled over on a changeup his first time up and grounded out to the first baseman. Another ball in the dirt. This time Edwin takes off, and the throw is not in time. Encarnacion had a better idea where that ball was. He could see the baseball behind the catcher.
Yeah, no, and he read it perfectly. He saw that that ball was going to be in the dirt, and he broke instantly. That's how you keep the pressure on the opposition. Change up right out in front of home plate. And Edwin took off as soon as he saw that ball in the dirt.
Still just 1 out. Ground ball to Texeira. He'll go to the bag. Encarnacion moves to third on the out. Navarro will be the 9th Blue Jay to bat this inning. There's a drive to the alley. That's going to get down and go all the way to the wall. Encarnacion comes in to score. Navarro will coast into second with a 2-out RBI double.
Blue Jays' approach at the plate has been so solid. First 2 innings of this game, they were ready for the changeup, and that's going to force the pitcher to try something different. Well, he said, well, maybe I could throw a fastball first pitch against Navarro. It doesn't sink. That one stays up, and a good hitter like Navarro will cash in his 29th RBI.
A bat-around inning, and Juan Francisco got it all started. He had an opposite field single to start the inning. 7-0 Blue Jays. Boy, what a message this sends to the Blue Jays hopeful. They lose Bautista to a hamstring injury. He's going to be out who knows how many days. They lose Brett Laurie to the DL. And they put up 7 runs in the first 2 innings on 10 hits against their closest pursuers. There's another changeup. Francisco's retired, but the Blue Jays score 6 runs in the second. Big night for Adam Lynn. He's 2 for 2. He's driven in 4. This a 3-run home run number 4. And the Blue Jays have jumped out early against the Yanks.
Honda Civic, Canada's best-selling car 16 years in a row, and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Boy, the Blue Jays needed a little dose of home cooking right back here at Rogers Center. They're up 7-0. They scored 6 runs on 7 hits in the second inning as they sent 10 men to the plate against Chase Whitley. 7-8-9 for the Yankees. Brian Roberts takes the first pitch strike, second baseman. Marcus Strowman retired the first 6 in this ballgame. A couple of strikeouts.
You know, no need to get fancy right now. You got a nice little lead. Get after him right here. He pitched with a lead against Kansas City and pitched a really nice ball game when they put him in the starting rotation. Blue Jays jumped out to a big lead for Strowman in that game, and he brought it home.
Well, you can see that Roberts has expanded his zone because Strowman threw a lot of first pitch strikes in first 2 innings. Three strikeouts for Strowman already.
Getting ahead with the fastball. Mixing in a changeup every now and then waiting till he gets to 2 strikes to show him the breaking ball. That one finishes off Brian Roberts, his 3rd strikeout.
Ichiro Suzuki, the right fielder. Strowman threw that fastball with a little movement late. Something we haven't seen.
No. Looked like a little 2-seamer. There's a little slider right under the bat of Ichiro Suzuki.
Well, you always talk about pitchers being able to make X's on both sides of the plate.
If he could come up with that pitch, a 2-seamer that's got a little bit of movement away from a left-hander, that's going to make him tough because there's no problem with his slider and his curveball. I mean, those things go hard into a left-hander. You just need something to go away from him.
Suzuki slaps that curveball into foul ground.
And he's got very good command with his fastball. When you watch Marcus work, he can hit the fastball on the outside corner. He can dot the inside corner. He's not afraid to pitch inside either to the left-handers. But if he can get that thing, we call it the swing back fastball or the comeback fastball, whatever you want to call it, against the left-hander, where it freezes them. You start it right at their inside hip there, and it comes right back over the inside part of the plate.
Breaking ball. Reyes waits it short quickly to first. 2 down. Let's check it with Jamie Campbell. Adam Jones was tied with Andrew McCutchen and Todd Frazier with 7 home runs in the month of June for the major league lead. Brendan Ryan playing shortstop tonight. Give Derek Jeter a day off. Ryan was signed as a backup just in case Jeter wasn't able to play, and he's not had many opportunities.
Just his 8th start tonight. Derek Jeter still going strong.
This will be Jeter's final season with the Yankees, his 20th.
His birthday is this week.
Yep, Jeter will turn 40 on the 26th. Brendan Ryan filling in for Jeter. A lot of Yankee fans came here to see the captain play. There's a line drive to right. Gose smothers the ball, and Brendan Ryan is the first Yankee base runner. That's the first hit, a 2-out single here in the 3rd.
That was the exact spot in the lineup where the Yankees got their first hit against Strowman at Yankee Stadium. 3rd inning, Kelly Johnson was batting 9th. He doubled to right center field. Different circumstances tonight. One, he was matched up against Tanaka. Tonight he has a 7-run lead.
Back to the top of the order. Brett Gardner. There's another good running fastball. That's something we haven't seen a lot of, but Marcus Strowman is a very good athlete. and he wants to be great. So he's got big ears. They're listening to everything he's told.
Yeah, his fastball has been pretty straight, but those couple this inning got some nice little movement to it. It's a good combination if you can make the ball go one way and then bring it back the other way.
Pretty good teammate for Strowman to learn from, Mark Burley. Ball and a strike. Gardner 0 for 2. Yankees get a hit, but they strand a base runner. When we come back, it'll be the bottom of the Blue Jays order. Munenori Kawasaki has a hit. He scored a run. Anthony Gose, too, has a single. And Jose Reyes has an RBI, and he scored a run. Fans, Jeff Simmons has written an interesting article on Sportsnet.ca about the ex-Blue Jays, where some of the former Blue Jays are and how they are struggling at this time. JP Arancibia is featured in that story. Of course, Arancibia's been sent to the minor leagues. Billy Bonifacio, Rajay Davis, some of the others that have moved from the Blue Jays. Travis d'Arnaud with the Mets has been down to AAA and hit the ball well in AAA. Had 5 home runs after his demotion. Munenori Kawasaki had a single into center field his first time up.
He's probably sick and tired of Las Vegas. He spent a few years there. Hey, 7-0. Time to yuck it up.
Kevin Zeitzer has had a tough stretch over this 10-game road trip. But his hitters have gotten the smile back on his face. Kawasaki pulls it to first. Texeira, the Gold Glover, makes a nice play. 1 down.
The 2014 Honda Civic, Canada's best-selling car 16 years in a row, and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Well, when the Blue Jays score a lot of runs, everybody has fun. And they've hit another home run tonight. Adam Lind hit a 3-run home run, his 4th of the season. Anthony Gose just back from AAA Buffalo. He had a 2-out base hit in the second. the Yankees trying to get as much as they can from their starter Chase Whitley. It's the first of 3 games in this series, and you hate to go deep into your pen in the first game. You never know what the rest of the series will bring.
That was obvious in the second inning, wasn't it? I mean, nobody moved in that bullpen. We didn't see anybody get on the phone to talk to any of them. Joe Girardi knows the importance of the starter giving him some innings so he doesn't wear out that bullpen. Another thing, they don't have a lot of long men out in that bullpen. They got a lot of 1-inning guys who come in and throw fastballs. A lot of strikeouts out of the bullpen, but they're short guys.
Yeah, inning maybe 2 max.
No David Phelps, who was there last year. He's in the starting rotation, and we will see him tomorrow night. Phelps was a long man out of their pen last year.
Upstairs, 2-2. I think this reflects everybody's situation in the American League East. Everybody has concerns. The Yankees lost 3 of their regular starters. Now they've had to press Whitley into action. Nuno, David Phelps, and it weakens the bullpen. When you look around in the entire division, everybody's got concerns.
Yeah. The warts of other teams. Tampa Bay's not hitting, and they've lost 3 of their starters, although a couple of them have come back. Boston's not hitting. The Yankees have some concerns in their starting rotation, like you're saying, because of all the injuries, and they're not hitting like they have in the past.
Gose takes ball 4. Anthony Gose is on base for a second time already. Blue Jays have slipped back a little bit in the American League East. On June 6th, they were 14 games over 500. Since then, they've gone 4-11. But if you look at the rest of the division, nobody has really taken advantage of the Blue Jays falling back a bit.
And if you look at the whole American League, I know Oakland has a great record, but would you say anybody is a super team? I don't think there is a team out there that's just going to run away with it and hide from everybody.
No, I agree with you. I think it's just a lot of teams are just good teams, no great teams.
Yeah, I'm with you on that way. You could probably say that about all of baseball.
Anthony Gose got a great jump. McCann has a strong arm, but Gose is in there with the head first slide. Anthony's 4th stolen base of the season. Got a terrific jump at first.
Boy, he was accelerated after his second step, and he picked on a good pitch also. You can see him. He reads the pitcher quickly. No looking in. That's a straight steal as he stays right on the bag. 4th stolen base of the season.
Jose Reyes takes it outside. It's a ball and a strike to the Blue Jays shortstop. Reyes picked up an RBI with the fielder's choice in the second.
Gose has the green light. Anytime he wants to go, he can try and steal.
Blue Jays just can't sit back. They've got to continue to push the offense. They have been struggling to score runs. They need to get back in a good groove with the bats.
Yeah, John Gibbons was talking about that before the game, that they will try and be a little bit more aggressive with Brett Lawrie out and with Jose Bautista down for now. He says we're going to try and create a little bit more offense. He says especially from the bottom half. The bottom half needs to get something going, and that's Anthony Gose. He's got the green light. Said he'll try and create some things for him.
Reyes knew it. Pitch on the outside corner. He is down on strikes. Fancy 2014 FIFA World Cup Soccer on Sportsnet. It's Costa Rica versus England tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. That's 8:30 a.m. Pacific on Sportsnet and Sportsnet World. Check it out. Lots of great action on the World Cup. Melky Cabrera is already 2 for 2 tonight.
You were getting into that World Cup last night. Let me tell you,
That was a good game.
Yeah.
USA and Portugal. Portugal scored late to tie it, but USA got a big point out of it.
I got a big fan sitting next to me right here. Soccer, right?
You know what's really interesting is the level of talent. The way the guys can play in that hot, muggy weather and go up and down the field.
How do they not get tired?
Yeah,
I never even see them breathing hard.
They're in tremendous shape, and they're terrific athletes. Ball on a strike to Melky Cabrera. Chases that changeup again, and it's a good one. No question about it.
If you're thinking fastball and he throws the changeup, that's where you have the problem. I think you have to change the way you think. Think changeup and then react to the fastball.
Just a little pop up. Kelly Johnson into foul territory. That'll end the inning. Blue Jays leave a base runner, but we'll go to the fourth. The Jays have a 7-0 lead over New York. All-Star game is Tuesday, July 15th, Target Field in Minnesota. Help make Jose Bautista, Jose Reyes, Melky Cabrera, Brett Laurie, and Edwin Encarnacion starters for the American League. Fans are allowed to vote a maximum of 35 times per email address. Vote early, vote often. Vote Blue Jays at bluejays.com, and you want to make sure you cast your vote for Edwin Encarnacion. He's within 150,000 of first place in that DH category, so make sure you log on and place your votes for Double E.
How about Jose Bautista named the captain of the American League for the home run hitting contest?
Terrific. He is the captain of the American League Home Run Derby. Troy Tulowitzki will be the National League captain, and that's a pretty important responsibility. He'll get to select the players he wants on that home run hitting team.
Let's see, who's the first call? How about Yoenis Cespedes to defend his crown? Can you do that?
Oh, I think you can. Kawasaki was positioned perfectly. Beltran is out on a hard line drive. Yeah, I think Cespedes is a legitimate candidate. How about Chris Davis?
Oh, yeah.
Big Poppy.
Poppy.
Chris Davis hasn't had the same kind of year this year as he had last year, of course.
How about Robbie Cano? He's a veteran. He's done it before, right?
Yeah. Well, bragging rights are at stake. You certainly want to pick a good team. Cano's been the captain before. Jacoby Ellsbury, the Yankees center fielder.
I know if I'm Troy Tulowitzki, who I'm picking first. He's down in South Florida. That's an easy one.
Giancarlo Stanton, that's for sure. Well, that ball ate up Ellsbury. A lot of late movement on that inside fastball. Stanton, do you get extra points if you hit him 9 miles?
They should.
Wow.
If you go over 500 feet.
He's hit some tape measure shots, that's for sure. It's always a big part of the All-Star festivities, that home run contest. Ellsbury lifts it into left field. Melky Cabrera looked like he was having some trouble with the lights, got down underneath it and made the catch. 2 down.
Well, I like how aggressive Marcus Strowman has been so far tonight with his fastball. He has established that. He has used it. We've seen some movement on his fastball tonight, and his breaking ball has been better than his last couple of starts. Changeup. Very nice.
First pitch changeup to Texeira. It's really interesting how Strowman has made some adjustments. This is just his 5th major league start. And he's around the big league players. He gets to see how other pitchers do it. And he's made some interesting adjustments. We've seen movement. We've seen an improved changeup. And all of a sudden, he looks like he's quite comfortable. Texeira hits one off that right foot. Remember, he got hit in the left foot yesterday on a pitch thrown by T.J. McFarland of the Baltimore Orioles.
He was limping around in the clubhouse after the game. Said it was pretty sore but not broken, so just thankful for that. He wears that shin guard for a reason, and there it is right there, right off the shin of his front foot.
0-2. Breaking ball hit to center. Rasmus back at the track, at the wall. He jumps and it's gone. Looked like it hit right off the top of the fence and bounced out of the ballpark. First base umpire Toby Bassner, second base umpire, Scott Berry went out, have a good look at it. Looked like it hit right on top of the fence and bounced out of the park.
You could see Marcus Strowman. I mean, they hit those pitches here. Breaking ball 0-2, deep to center field. It looked like it clicked right off of his glove. I was watching the reaction of Colby after this play. He times everything, and it's just out of his reach for a home run.
For Texeira, that's his 13th home run. Goes to straightaway center. And it looked like he was sitting back with 2 strikes and got that curveball, put it in play. The catcher, Brian McCann, with a 1-1 count. Tried to get him to chase that high fastball. And back with a good fastball. McCann foul tipped it into the glove. 5 strikeouts for Strowman. The Yanks on the board, but the Blue Jays lead it 7-1. will take on the Milwaukee Brewers. Game time is 1:07 p.m. Come early and enjoy the pregame festivities happening outside of Rogers Center. First 20,000 fans will receive a Blue Jays bucket cap. Make sure you call the Jays at 416-341-1234. Log online at BlueJays.com. Come on down to Rogers Center and enjoy Canada Day with the Blue Jays as they take on the Milwaukee Brewers. Adam Lind will start things off here, and he's had a big night already. Back in the second with 2 on.
Singled his first time up, and then this long drive to center field is his 4th home run. A big blow for the Blue Jays. A 3-run home run in that 4th inning. He looks quite comfortable in that number 3 spot in the batting order.
Chuck Gibbons has had to mix and match without Brett Lawrie available. He's on the disabled list, and Jose Bautista is day-to-day with a hamstring strain. Two and 0. Blue Jays scored a run in the first and then 6 in the second. They sent 10 men to the plate in that second inning. Edwin Encarnacion, he is 2 for 2 already tonight.
Yeah, Cabrera, multi-hit game again, and Lynn with 2, and then Encarnacion with 2. This has been a good part of the lineup for the Blue Jays.
Lynn takes a 4-pitch walk. Second walk issued by Whitley.
That's something he doesn't do. Whitley came in here with just 4 base on balls all season long, and just 1 home run given up.
The other home run he allowed outside of the Lind home run tonight, Logan Morrison of the Seattle Mariners, big first baseman, hit a home run. That's the only other home run that Whitley has allowed this year.
Pretty impressive in 38 2/3 coming into this game. I just think the Blue Jays have a better read this time around against Chase Whitley than the first time they faced him. And they can look at all the video you want and have an idea and have the game plan given to you, but if you're not standing in that box and getting a good read on that pitcher, it's tough. I think they have a better game plan, a better idea of what they're trying to do to him.
Edwin has 2 hits to the right side of the field, and with that, Brian Roberts has moved back over to the first base side.
That'll straighten out that defense, won't it? I mean, it's just too easy. You're holding a runner on first base. You got 3 guys on the left side. It's too easy for an established hitter.
Yeah, and somebody that can handle the bat. We saw Bautista do it effectively. Encarnacion has followed suit.
You know, I think guys in the major leagues, everybody can handle the bat. Some are better than others. You don't get to the big leagues without the ability to handle the bat. Blue Jays practice it every single day in batting practice. Go the other way, hit and run, do all those little things to help yourself. But if you're going to give them a base hit by keeping that right side open, they're going to take it.
Back-to-back walks. Blue Jays start the 4th with 2 on, nobody out. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. Well, ever since Gregory Polanco joined the Pirates, they have started to turn things around a bit. The Pirates are a game under 500. They've won 6 of their last 10, including 2 in a row. So they are still 9 games back in the National League Central Division. Milwaukee, St. Louis, Cincinnati, then the Pirates. But that's a division that looks like it's going to get jammed up as well.
Yeah, you're going to have 4 teams going for it all season long. David Huff, a left-hander, Blue Jays did not see him in New York, starts to throw. Is there a more athletic outfield than the Pittsburgh Pirates now?
No.
I don't think so.
You have Polanco, McCutchen, and Polanco now.
Yeah.
Starling Marte as well, and they got a terrific outfield. Go back to June 6, and there's the number we were talking about. Blue Jays were 6 games up on the Yankees. That has diminished to a game and a half over the Orioles and the Yankees. Huff is throwing for the Yankees. Colby Rasmus has grounded out twice to the first baseman. Fly ball to right. Ellsbury over in the alley. Lind is tagging at second. He'll move to third. Encarnacion holds at first. So Lind moves up now. He's at third base with just 1 out. Rasmus drove it into right center. Put a pretty good swing on that, but he has gone 0 for 3 to start this game.
Every opportunity to score runs, you have to take advantage of it. You just never know in this game. Blue Jays, all they have to do is look back to Friday night in Cincinnati.
Blue Jays were down 8-0, came back to win that game 14-9.
So you got an opportunity here. You got a runner at third base and less than 2 outs. Drive him in.
Johnny Navarro had an RBI double in the second. Rolls over that first pitch and pulls it foul. Navarro had the game tying hit on Friday night in the 8th inning. Drove in the 9th run and made it 9-9.
Beautiful piece of hitting. Doubled the left center field.
Chase Whitley has thrown 84 pitches now. We're 1 out into the 4th inning. Navarro's done a pretty good job of delivering with runners in scoring position. He too will go the other way on a tough pitch, something outside.
Probably get another one right here. Something off speed.
Off speed, hooked foul. The Blue Jays have scored 7 runs tonight, and we are in the 4th inning. They scored a total of 8 runs in 27 innings in New York against the Yankees in that series in which the Yankees swept all 3 games.
It's got to make John Gibbons feel good that his team has come out here, forgot about that 3-game sweep, and a little payback.
There's a base hit into center for Navarro. Lind will jog home. And the Blue Jays get that run back. Teixeira hit a home run in the top half of the inning. Navarro delivers his 2nd RBI of the night.
You know what's so pretty about that base hit right there by Deanna Navarro? He stayed on that breaking ball. Didn't try and pull it, and he can cover that pitch and hit it right back through the middle. Breaking ball, and you can see the head was straight down, and he rifles it right back through the middle.
That may be it for Whitley as they're taking a long time on the mound, and catcher's out. Now the infielders have come out.
3 lefties in a row.
Coming up, Girardi's getting ready to come out. And here he'll come. He'll make the pitching change here. But he waited as long as he could. Chase Whitley not faring as well as he did the first time he faced the Blue Jays. You can see Girardi turn to the umpire and say Huff, the left-hander. Lynn's had a good night at the plate, so have his teammates. 8 runs on 11 hits against Chase Utley. Chase Whitley. David Huff, the left-hander, will come into the ball game to face Juan Francisco when we come back. pitchers have Tommy John surgery. Now kids as young as 12 are opting for the surgery in what many view as a shortcut to the majors. What will happen to tomorrow's pitcher? Catch Too Many Miracles, a Sportsnet special, Sunday, June 29th, following our Blue Jays telecast. Interesting story about the rash of Tommy John surgeries, and they're going down to the ages of 12 and 13, having Tommy John surgery already.
Amazing. Just amazing. David Huff now into the ball game. The Yankees just acquired Huff a week ago from the San Francisco Giants. As you see, Chase Whitley, his night is over. Huff, now the long man in that bullpen. He's only played in 3 games for the Yankees.
Inside with the first pitch. Huff pitched an inning in yesterday's game. But this is always important, first game of a series, to get deep into your opponent's bullpen. And maybe you really put pressure on the pen for the rest of the series. Francisco got another fastball.
And what Joe Girardi's thinking about is, how am I going to finish off this game right here? If you figure that you're going to lose this one, I can't burn out so many pitchers that I don't have them for the next couple of days. So I got to figure out who's going to finish this thing off. Huff's only thrown 5 innings this year for the Yankees.
And it's a tough thing for a manager, because you certainly don't want to have any of your pitchers beaten up. And somebody's got to go out there and pitch the innings. And you can see Chase Whitley disappointed with this start tonight. But the Blue Jays were on him early. They had 3 hits in the first inning, scored a run, and they broke it wide open in the second.
They had a real good game plan against him tonight.
Francisco strikes out. Huff gets his first man. That's the second out of the inning.
Looked like a breaking ball from Huff. He's had some starting in his career, some experience when he was with the Cleveland Indians. That time he paints that outside corner against Francisco to pick up the second out of the inning.
Kawasaki slices it into the seats down the left side. Munenori Kawasaki has a single. He's also been robbed of a hit on a nice play by Mark Teixeira at first. Fouled off the glove of the catcher. David Huff is 29 years old. You mentioned he played with Cleveland. He was 5 years with the Indians. Spent 2013 with the Yankees and in San Francisco. Purchased him in January this year. And here he is back with New York.
For cash considerations, and then the Yankees needed another arm, so they go back to San Francisco and work out a trade. He has spent some time on the disabled list this season with an oblique injury. Check that. That was a strained left quad. Spent some time on the disabled list back in April.
That goes right through McCann all the way back to the backstop. He went down to block it. I think he was a little bit late blocking a 5-hole and went right through his legs all the way back to the backstop.
Didn't get down. Stay down. Breaking ball looked like from Huff. Thought that ball was going to come up. It stayed down. Wild pitch. Both runners move up.
Chopped to the mound, and Huff will flip to first to end the inning. Blue Jays leave a pair. We have played 4 innings here at Rogers Center. It's 8-1. Now it's time for a Blue Jays Central Update. Here's Jamie Campbell and Greg Zahn. 4 innings, and he's had everything working tonight.
Well, the first thing that we like is his fastball. He's been able to get that over when he needs to. His breaking ball is so much better tonight. And even when he doesn't strike somebody out, that fastball's been in a good spot, and you can see his acknowledgement probably to his pitching coach, Pete Walker, that I'm going to use that fastball when I need to against those left-handers.
Good crowd on hand here tonight. First of 3 against the Yankees. Blue Jays back home after a lengthy 10-game, 11-day road trip through Baltimore, New York, and Cincinnati. Marcus Strowman in his 5th big league start, just in much more control. His last start against New York, he had about 60 family members in attendance at Yankee Stadium, his first opportunity to pitch in front of a lot of friends and family. He grew up on Long Island in Medford, New York, about 60 miles east of Yankee Stadium.
And the Yankees worked him over, too. I mean, they really made him work. And then you get gun shy when they start hitting the ball and nibble a little bit. Pitch count goes up. They start fouling the balls off. He didn't have the stuff that he has tonight back in New York. He had the good fastball, but that was about it. His breaking ball wasn't there, and his changeup wasn't there. He's got all 3 of them so far tonight.
Well, he sure does. And then, of course, that short porch and right jumped up and bit him in the 3rd inning. Brett Gardner hit a breaking ball off the foul pole down in the right field corner at Yankee Stadium. Little cutter, nice play by Double E. He'll beat Kelly Johnson to the bag. That early work paying dividends for Encarnacion.
Canon's Best in Glass sales event. Performance cameras and lenses at the season's best prices. Visit canon.ca/bestinglass.
Welcome back to Toronto. Blue Jays up 8-1 over the Yankees as the Yankees bat in the 5th. Brian Roberts struck out his first time up. Boy, there has to be a tremendous amount of satisfaction for Luis Rivera. After bringing out Encarnacion, he had Kawasaki out early, he had Francisco out early working on some things, and then you see fruits of your labors
right away. That night, he again, he was working with Encarnacion and balls in the dirt. In fact, he was the guy throwing it to him on the double plays. They were working with Kawasaki, turning 2, and Kawasaki's made a nice play tonight at second base on that line drive.
Well, you just don't have the opportunity on the road to do that. You don't have the access to the field as much as you do at home, of course. But then, too, it's difficult to work with an everyday player like Encarnacion because you're concerned about wearing him down.
Yeah, he's got to play every single day. You can't bring him out here all the time. There's another good pitch with the fastball.
So Brian Roberts strikes out a 2nd time tonight. That's 6 strikeouts for Strowman.
Watch where this ball is. He has that ability to put it on the outside part of the plate and then on the inside corner. Use that fastball.
Ichiro Suzuki bats with 2 outs, and there's a first pitch way outside. Suzuki is now 40 years old. Rookie of the Year, MVP, All-Star, Gold Glove, Silver Slugger in his first year.
Yeah, that was just his first year. Oh, 300 a couple of times, huh?
There's a fly ball to left. Easy play for Melky Cabrera. The inning is over. Easy inning for Marcus Strowman. He retires the Yanks in order in the top of the 5th. Zone are recipients of a special seat upgrade, courtesy of TD. Congratulations, got a great seat now. While over in the Jays Care Community Clubhouse, we welcome visitors from St. Thomas Elgin Children's Hospital. Welcome to the ballpark, and we hope you're having a good time. I noticed those guys had T-shirts with a nice blue tie on it when they were in that Jays Care Community Clubhouse. Blue Jays out in front, 8-1. They broke it open early. Anthony Gose has been on base twice. Gose called back up from AAA Buffalo. Fouls his first ball off. To fill you in all of the roster moves today, Gose and his outfield partner Kevin Pillar have been added to the roster. Brett Lawrie was placed on the disabled list, and Eric Kratz, the catcher, has been optioned to Buffalo. So Pillar is back with the club again.
John Gibbons feeling that Bautista is going to be out for a couple of days. He said we need a couple of outfielders. They were actually playing for about a week or so with just 3 outfielders.
And to run Steve Pallison out there defensively in that game on Sunday in Cincinnati. Pillar hit .243 with 3 extra base hits in 24 games with the Jays earlier. He was swinging a red hot bat. His last 10 games in AAA Buffalo, he's hit over 400. Hit a home run yesterday.
And I love what Gibby says about what has happened in the last 24 hours or so. He says injuries create opportunities, and here's an opportunity for Kevin Pillar and Anthony Gose to take advantage of right here. Show the Blue Jays what you've got.
Gose is out on strikes, takes a fastball down and away. The Pritz Tracker is brought to you by Acer, official partner of the Toronto Blue Jays. David Huff has come into the ballgame and calmed things down. He's retired all 3 batters he's faced since entering the game. Has a couple of strikeouts. Back to the top of the order. Jose Reyes will turn around and bat right-handed for the first time. Adam Lind has had a big night. He has homered, driven in 4 runs, and reached base all 3 times.
Blue Jays stacked their lineup tonight with left-handers. They had 5 left-handers in their starting lineup tonight. A right-hander in Encarnacion and 3 switch hitters. And their approach, especially the left-handers, was very good against Chase Whitley. Kawasaki had a base hit. Francisco went the other way with a base hit. Lind has a couple of hits. The left-hander.
Lind making his first start since fouling a ball off his foot. Lind fouled the ball off his foot on Saturday in Baltimore. The 3rd game of that 4-game series against the Orioles, and he had 2 pinch hit appearances in Cincinnati and got hits both times. Reyes is battling hard against David Huff.
Fouling off some tough sliders right there down the left field line.
Full count, says Laz Diaz. Melky Cabrera will be next. Another walk. Reyes will take ball 4. So he's aboard for a second time tonight. Getting the Blue Jays back to the very patient approach. They have 4 walks tonight. When you think about the way they came back,
they got away
Friday
from
night.
that for just a little bit, didn't they?
A little bit too aggressive. I think as a unit, the offense felt like they had to make something happen because they weren't scoring many runs, and they got away from that good approach. Melky goes after the first pitch. Kelly Johnson goes to second. Return throw to first is in time. 5-4-3 double play. That ends the inning. We'll go to the 6-8-1 Blue Jays, and here comes the Home Hardware cleanup crew. Brought to you by Natura. Home Hardware's exclusive line of safe, environmentally friendly cleaning products. Day. Pick your games, seats, and save money. The deadline to purchase the 2014 Flex Pack is Friday, June 27th, so make sure you check out the schedule, pick out your Flex Pack, and you can do that by calling the Blue Jays at 416-341-1234 or log online at bluejays.com and get your Blue Jays Flex Pack. They are on sale until Friday, June 27th. Marcus Strowman has been impressive in his second start against the New York Yankees. There's a drive to right. Anthony Gose back at the fence and holds on to it. Oh, what a catch. Anthony Gose never broke stride. Hits in that wall with that mesh wire up in front of the bullpen and held on to the baseball.
You know what I think of when I just watched that catch by Anthony Gose? No fear. I mean, you could hear the footsteps as you get closer to that fence, but he said, I'm going to catch this for my buddy Strowman, and he goes right into the wall. Brendan Ryan can't believe it, and Marcus Strowman's loving it, but no fear to go after a ball like that.
Now, a great concentration. He knew that wall was coming. He could feel the warning track underneath him, and he didn't hesitate. He hit that wall full stride.
Let's take a look at it one more time. You're not sure if you're going to run into that fencing or the padding or what. He said, I'm going to take this hit away from Brendan Ryan, and he did.
Tell you what, the young guys picking up each other. Marcus Strowman has set the tone from the mound, and Anthony Gose just picked him up with a nice play in right.
We've seen a couple of nice plays the last few innings. I think that really reflects how Strowman is getting the ball, working quickly, throwing strikes. That keeps the defense on their toes, and they want to make plays for him.
Brett Gardner will take the walk. He reaches base for the first time tonight. That's the first walk that Strowman has allowed tonight.
You were talking about how he has pitched so well tonight. This is just the second time he's pitched out of the stretch. That's how dominating he has been.
He gave up a single to Brendan Ryan in the third. Gave up a home run to Mark Teixeira with 2 outs in the fourth. And now Brett Gardner at first with the 1-out walk. Carlos Beltran is 0 for 2 so far tonight. Beltran spent 2 years in St. Louis, and then he signed a nice free agent contract with the Yankees to give them some versatility. Had hoped he might be able to play a little bit more in the outfield, but Suzuki has played so well. He has played a lot in right.
Good looking pitch there. He's had an elbow problem also that's set him back a little bit this year. Still a dangerous player.
Three and one. Jacoby Ellsbury, the number 3 hitter, is on deck.
Nasty. 3-1. He threw him a cutter or a slider, a little something that moved just under the bat of Beltran.
Full count, 1 out. Brett Gardner at first. The Yankees are down by 7. Ground ball. Kawasaki to Reyes at second. Back to first. Double play. So the walk is erased. Kawasaki to Reyes to Encarnacion. Another double play for the Blue Jays. Marcus Strowman gets a nice defensive play in right. And then the infielders take over to end the inning. Honda, proud to be the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Second inning, couple of runners aboard for Adam Lynn. A breaking ball out over the plate, and he extends those arms and hammers that ball to center field. It ends up his 4th home run of the season and our drive of the game.
A lot of hooting and hollering at Rogers Center tonight as the Blue Jays have broken out the big bats. Adam Lind has reached base all 3 times. RBI single in the first, 3-run homer in the second, and walked and scored in the fourth.
Gibby's looking like a genius, isn't he?
Put Lind in the third spot?
Put him in the third spot, that's right.
You and I were talking about that, and we had some ideas ourselves, thinking maybe he'd drop Melky Cabrera in the third spot.
Because of his great numbers against the Yankees, he's a switch hitter, he's been hot, and you want to put your best hitter in front of Encarnacion, bunch them together.
And he's done that tonight.
The guy has added 10 points to his batting average tonight.
Stays on that breaking ball. Lind is battling the left-hander David Huff. Huff came into the ball game with 1 out in the 4th. Lind against lefty pitching, just a 118 average, but quite honestly, he hasn't had any regular at-bats against lefties.
17.
Hard to get any kind of rhythm with so few at-bats. That is drilled down the left side. Look out, ball boy. That handcuffed the ball boy.
Well, that was a lean-you right there by Lindy.
He did the right thing. Watch the ball boy sitting on that stool down there, and this thing is following him. It's tracking him, and now he's going, get out of my kitchen. Then hits it right back to the pitcher. Huff flips to Texeira. That's the first out of the 6th.
That shot that we just showed down the left field line shows you how much that ball moves. That ball is slicing. The thing must have moved 20, 30 feet down the left field line.
And it's really interesting. You've been in the outfield before, and you've had balls come to you like that. But for a young guy like the ball boy down there, you just don't know which way to go.
Yeah, and the fans in the front row there are saying, well, you're the one who's got the glove. Let's go.
Encarnacion, like Lind, has reached base all 3 times he's come to the plate. Then grounded back to the pitcher. Encarnacion has 2 singles and a walk. I think when you look at the breakdown of the season for Encarnacion, it just really points out to how challenging it is to be a great hitter in the major leagues. You have to stay healthy. You have to work hard. You have to make sure you take good care of yourself to stay strong in the course of a 6-month season. But he got off to a slow start and then had a record-setting month of May.
Yeah.
June was a slow start for him, and now he's bounced back again.
You have to stay confident, stay disciplined. That's what Edwin does. He's a very disciplined hitter. He swings hard. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not talking about that, but he'll wait for his pitch. He'll study it. And I'll tell you, I think hitting is so much harder now with the specialization of all the relief pitchers. You get past the starter, and they're bringing in guys throwing 95, 96 miles an hour at you.
Encarnacion wasn't sure that was a strike, and hits tracks looks like it might have been off the plate. 2 down.
The 2014 Honda Civic, Canada's best-selling car 16 years in a row, and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Kobe Rasmus has gone 0 for 3 so far tonight. Rasmus returned to the active roster on the 18th of June. And he has gotten a hit in each of the games he's played in since his return. Looking for his first hit tonight. It's just high in the air down the left side. That's well back into the seats.
It's important when you come back after missing some time not to try and do too much. Try to fit right back in and try to do something that you're not capable of. Trying to hit the ball too hard. Just stay within your game plan and make it simple. Make it easier on yourself. He hasn't missed a beat.
No, he sure hasn't. He has been able to hit the ball out of the ballpark. He's hit the ball to the opposite field. He's had a couple of good long at bats. And he came back at a time when the Blue Jays really needed his bat. Kevin Seitzer has really been pleased with the way their relationship has developed over the course of the season. That's a good job by Kevin there, giving that young fan a souvenir.
He can do it all. Hitting coach.
Yeah, what did he tell us on this last road trip?
His head's going to fall off, explode, because they weren't hitting.
Full count, 2 outs to Colby Erasmus. He takes it outside. They went with the breaking ball. Erasmus reaches for the first time tonight. 2 down, 1 on. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. Home run number 22 for Jose Abreu, and we mentioned he'll be here Thursday night with the White Sox. He is a big, powerful rookie. Gianna Navarro batting right-handed.
That guy seems to hit a home run every night, doesn't he?
He was out on the disabled list for a while, and he hasn't missed a beat. Chris Sale, the White Sox starter, has given up 10 hits in 5 innings. Wei-Yin Chen was the starter for the Orioles. He has since been lifted from the ball game. There's a drive to left field. Gardner is back quickly, and Navarro is retired. The inning is over. Blue Jays leave a base runner. We'll go to the 7th. Jays are up 8-1 over New York. Authority of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership. The roof is closed here at Rogers Center, and if you want to find out about the roof report, you can listen to 680 News for the Rogers Center Roof Report. So it'll tell you if you're in for a game indoors or out. It begins 3 hours before every home game. Steve Tallison in defensively at third base, taking over for Juan Francisco.
Left-hander on the mound, and David Huff. Francisco's spot his first next inning, so Put your best defensive team out there and get Tolleson an AB.
So it'll be 3, 4, and 5 for the Yankees. Jacoby Ellsbury, Mark Teixeira, then Brian McCann, heart of the order. Marcus Strowman working in the 7th.
This is territory for Marcus Strowman that he's not familiar with.
Go back to his longest outing. 3 times he's pitched 6 innings. His pitch count's in good shape, 89 pitches.
He's been very efficient with his pitches. If he can get through this inning, this will probably be his last inning.
I wouldn't mind seeing him stretched out.
Oh, sure.
Let him go. He is in good shape, obviously. He's young, he's strong. Works hard at keeping his body in good shape. I think it's interesting, and I think it's good for pitchers to learn how to pitch when they're a little bit tired. I think they can discover things. They can discover things about themselves, make different pitches, take a little bit off, get a little more movement on your fastball.
How many times did you hear pitchers say that last thing you said? When I feel tired, that's when my ball really starts moving. But organizations nowadays, they have pitch counts and they have innings limits, especially on their younger pitchers. And the Blue Jays have inserted a, quote, 6th starter every now and then to push guys back, to limit their innings. They're thinking long term this whole season with a young pitcher like Strowman. They want to watch his innings this season.
Two balls and 2 strikes. Ellsbury leading off the top of the 7th. Cut out and missed. Ellsbury strikes out. Vance Tyrant is a suspenseful drama about a conflicted hero who returns to his Middle Eastern birthplace only to be dropped into the confusion of political unrest. Tyrant, from the makers of Homeland, premieres tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, 8 p.m. Mountain Time on Fox Canada. Not available, excuse me, on FX Canada. It's not available on Bell. Teixeira behind quickly, 0-2.
Good changeup right there. That's a pitch that the Yankees didn't see much of his last time out. Got a much better breaking ball. Looks like he's going to go back to the changeup. Gave that one away. In his windup, he went a little bit too quickly. Showed Mark Teixeira a little something different.
Bouncing ball to first. That's a fair ball. Teixeira is retired. So now it's time for the play of the game. It's brought to you by Hungry Man. Try new pulled pork.
Well, Marcus Strowman has thrown a lot of strikes. He has worked quickly, and his defense has responded for him. How about this shot by Brendan Ryan to right field? Anthony Gose, with no fear, all the way back to the wall. Catches it, crashes into the wall, holds on for our play of the game. Wow, what a play.
Anthony Gose has had a good return to the Blue Jays. Brian McCann has struck out and grounded out. There's a fly ball into center. Should be an easy play for Rasmus. He's there, and the inning is over. Marcus Strowman, 7 strong innings against the New York Yankees. He walks off the mound with an 8-1 lead. cover every angle of the Toronto Blue Jays. Follow Shide of Edie, taking you beyond the bases with in-depth analysis and expert opinion. It's the Inside Scoop. Shide of Edie, MLB Insight, only on Sportsnet.ca. Anthony Gose and Kevin Seitz are having a animated discussion, and Gose is all of a sudden bought into this approach at the plate, and that's the way he's got to hit. Go the other way, hit the ball on the ground.
Just pull out his baseball card and look at all the hits that Kevin Seitz got in the big leagues. He knows a little something about hitting.
Steve Tonnison will bat for the first time. He entered the ball game as a defensive replacement at third base for Juan Francisco. Francisco finished up 1 for 3 on the night. Hit hard. Brendan Ryan, a terrific throw, and what a play. We told you he was a defensive wizard. And he takes a hit away from Steve Tonnison with a terrific throw. The Gold Glover on the other end, Mark Teixeira, acknowledges a fantastic play.
There was 3 parts to this play right here. First of all, getting to it and catching it right there. Then getting up quickly and throwing accurately across the diamond to make the out. That's a great play by Ryan. Look how quickly he gets up. Doesn't have time to crow hop or anything, and then fires it across the diamond to get the out. What a play.
Now, Blas Diaz went over to John Gibbons. I guess they were thinking about the possibility of reviewing that, but it looked like he was clearly out. And at this point, it was a bang-bang play at first, and Tonnison is out. Munenori Kawasaki has singled in 3 at-bats.
You know, watching that play, it was like, wow, he got to that ball. Whoa, he got up quickly. Holy cow, he threw it across inaccurately. What a play by Ryan.
Brendan Ryan started his career with the St. Louis Cardinals, and he was one of the best defenders. Larry Boa, the longtime shortstop, a Gold Glover himself, said Ryan played the best shortstop he'd ever seen when he was with the Cardinals. That's high praise coming from a guy that has seen a lot of baseball.
Spent some time in Seattle with the Mariners. And now backs up Derek Jeter at shortstop. Let's take one more look how quickly he gets to it, how quickly he gets up, and then all the way across the diamond.
And threw it on the fly. 3-2 to Munenori Kawasaki. We've seen some outstanding defense tonight. Gose in right field. Now Ryan at shortstop.
Edwin's had a nice play at first base.
Ryan tested a much easier play this time. 2 down. Anthony Gose will come to the plate. Remember, he had that animated discussion with Kevin Seitzer in the dugout before this at bat.
You know what? I think you're going to get your wish about Marcus Strowman.
Nobody's warming up.
Nobody's warming up.
Anthony Gose singled in his first at bat, walked and stole second in the 3rd inning, and struck out in the 5th. Strowman doesn't look like he's going anywhere, does he?
Why not?
Back out to the mound.
Yeah, that's the only place he's going. Maybe that or go get some more gum.
The Buffalo connection has been effective for John Gibbons. Gose, Pilar, Strowman. Bouncing ball up the middle. Ryan unloads in a hurry, and he was off balance, couldn't get much on the throw. Gose is aboard with an infield single. Ryan had to go deep behind the bag at second to catch that bouncing ball. He couldn't get much on the throw.
Well, he also knew that he had to hurry because of who was running. Gose. He got to it and tried to flick it over to first base. But it's off target. Gose will get another base hit. Been on base 3 times tonight.
Gose is 2 for 3 with a walk. They're going to play behind Gose at first with 2 outs. Reyes with a big cut, fouls it back. There's a pop down the right side headed toward the seats, and it'll bounce on the warning track and then into the seats. So the Yankees are playing behind Gose in this situation. 7-run lead. You just stop him at first?
Oh yeah, if the Yankees are going to concede and play behind Gose, if he takes off and steals second base, I know I wouldn't want to be hitting. That's just baseball etiquette right now, late in the ball game.
Yeah, the Blue Jays are batting in the bottom of the 7th, and the Yankees are down by 7, so they're just saying, okay, we're going to play behind you, but don't run now.
3rd inning, they had that 7-0 lead, and Gose was on first base, and he stole it too early in the ball game. Then to shut it down.
Reyes pulls it to 3rd. Kelly Johnson will go across the diamond, and that ends the inning. Blue Jays get another base hit. They have 12 hits tonight against New York. Marcus Strowman has given up just 2. Marcus Strowman set to start the 8th inning. He has been terrific tonight. 1 walk, 7 strikeouts, just 2 hits allowed. And he is pitching the deepest he's pitched all season long, minors or majors.
Yeah. He has tied his big league strikeout high in this game.
There's a broken Matt Flair behind second. Reyes is there. Kelly Johnson is retired, 1 down.
He still has a good fastball, evident right there. jamming and breaking the bat of Kelly Johnson and getting the first out.
One out in the top of the 8th. Aaron Loop just soft tossing behind Strowman.
Just got up. You see Bob Stanley behind him on the phone with Pete Walker. And some other thoughts coming from the bench.
Brian Roberts goes after the first pitch. Anthony Gose loping over near the line. Roberts is retired. 2 down. For breaking news, stories, stats, and scores, follow us on Twitter @Sportsnet. Keep you up to date, and tonight the Twitter world has probably blown up with this big offensive outburst. 8 runs on 12 hits, plus the fact that Marcus Strowman has 2 outs in the 8th. He's given up 2 hits.
Keep pumping it in there.
Strowman has retired the last 6 he's faced. Looks like a very pleased pitching coach, Pete Walker. Now it's a full count. Drew Hutchison threw a shutout early in the season against the Texas Rangers down in Arlington. Suzuki pulls it past Encarnacion into right. A 2-out single. Just the 3rd hit for the Yankees tonight. Going to play behind Suzuki at first with a 7-run lead. So now Brendan Ryan, who had the first hit of the game for the Yankees back in the 3rd. He was robbed of extra bases in the 6th on that terrific catch by Anthony Gose in right field.
Oh, you won't find any better catch than that one by Gose in right field. That took a lot of concentration, a lot of guts to run right into that wall. Still throwing hard.
Yes, he is. He needs to just take a deep breath, regroup, and try to work his way through each pitch in this at bat, trying to get out of the 8th. Good breaking ball. 1-2. Seven strikeouts for Marcus Strowman. He's allowed just 3 hits. Ryan gets a piece of it to stay alive.
He's had a good curveball tonight. He's had a good breaking ball, slider. He's used his changeup tonight. We have even seen his fastball have a little dip to it. Get some movement on that. Another strikeout will set a career high for him in a big league game.
Had 7 strikeouts against St. Louis. It's a fly ball hit deep to left field. Melky Cabrera hustling back. He's got room. Strowman. 8 strong innings tonight. He's held the Yankees to a single run on just 3 hits. We'll go to the bottom of the 8th. Now it's time for a Blue Jays Central update. Here's Jamie Campbell and Greg Zahn. Rogers on Sportsnet, live on your smartphone. Visit RogersAnyplaceTV.com/sports to get started. The Yankees have made wholesale changes. Sean Kelly comes into the ball game to pitch the bottom of the 8th inning. He is making his 22nd appearance of the season. Joe Girardi has made wholesale changes. He has taken out Texeira. McCann goes to first. Cervelli is the new catcher. Solarte's at third. Beltran still the DH. Soriano's in right. Ichiro is in center. And Kelly Johnson, the third baseman, is now in left. So he's gotten a few guys off their legs.
It's like a spring training game.
Melky Cabrera hits it foul just outside of first. Yeah, you're right. He's taken out Brett Gardner, Jacoby Ellsbury, and Mark Teixeira.
They play every day. First time on the turf in a while for the Yankees. Makes a lot of sense.
And they've got some older legs. Melky Cabrera, another 2-hit night. He's extended his personal hit streak to 20 straight games against the Yankees. Melky spent 5 seasons in New York. Marcus Strowman gets a handshake from the skipper and a big broad smile. He is looking for his 4th big league win. Cabrera strikes out. So Chad Jenkins is loosening up down in the Blue Jays bullpen. Strowman appears to be out of the game after going 8 strong innings. That's just exactly what the Blue Jays were looking for to start this series against New York.
Exactly what they're looking for. R.A. Dickey gave him 7 2/3. Santos finished that one up with 1/3 of an inning yesterday. And Rasmussen looped the day before. So Casey Jansen's well rested. Dustin McGowan is well rested. Aaron Loop is well rested now for the rest of the series.
Mark Burley will go to the mound tomorrow. He'll be opposed by David Phelps, a right-hander, and then Hiroki Kuroda, Andrew Hutchison will wrap up the series on Wednesday. Orland is swinging the bat well tonight.
He's seeing it. They throw that breaking ball out over the plate, and he's letting it go. He homered to center field. It looked like on a breaking ball.
Blue Jays have an 8-1 lead over New York. The White Sox have a 4-2 lead over Baltimore in the bottom of the 7th. Lynn strikes out. Back-to-back strikeouts for Sean Kelly. Fans, a reminder, the Blue Jays Visor Giveaway Day will take place Sunday, June 29th, when the Blue Jays take on Chicago White Sox. Game time is 1:07 p.m. First 20,000 fans will receive a Blue Jays visor. Call the Jays for tickets at 416-341-1234 or log online at BlueJays.com and get your tickets for Sunday, June 29th, the Blue Jays Visor Giveaway Day. Carnacion checked his swing. It's now a 2-1 count. $31,554 in attendance tonight. Good crowd on a Monday night, first of 3 against the Yanks.
They've been loud too. They've really gotten into the ball game, giving the Blue Jays some support.
Well, this was kind of a step up game for the Blue Jays after being swept by the Yankees in the Bronx. They needed a win tonight. get him back on the right track.
Needed to make a statement here after that tough road trip that they just finished up. They needed a good one here, and I think they need a good homestand. They've got the Yankees for 3, the White Sox for 4, the first place Milwaukee Brewers for 2, and then they head out on another extended 3-city road trip
before the All-Star break. Oakland, Anaheim, and then Tampa Bay, and then they'll go into the All-Star break. Pulled down to third. Solarte just into the game. Long throw, not in time. Encarnacion has an infield hit. His third hit of the night. He is 3 for 4 with a walk.
He's been on 4 times, and he was thinking base hit right there. Solarte made a great play at third base, just into the ball game. Ball finds him, makes a great play and a strong throw over to first base. Edwin's thinking base hit right here. He notices that Solarte has the ball. He's got to hustle down there, and he beats it out.
And now Joe Girardi is going to come out and discuss the play with the first base umpire, Toby Baskin. The ball is in the dirt. You can see bang bang at first, and
there's not enough there to change it.
Kind of curious that he would challenge this. 2 outs in the bottom of the 8th. Tony Pena waiting on it. They wave it off. Too close to call.
One more look as you see the ball in the dirt. Nice scoop by McCann. His foot might have been off the base too.
So Edwin has a 3-hit night. He raised his average 7 points tonight. He's up to 273. Homie Rasmus drives it down the right field line, but that hook's foul. Rasmus 0 for 3 with a walk. David Huff did a nice job for the Yankees, going 3 2/3. He shut out the Blue Jays on just 1 hit.
1 hit, a couple of walks, a couple of strikeouts. Just what Joe Girardi needed out of his pen tonight after a starter just went at 3 1/3. That'll save your bullpen.
Strike 2 to Rasmus. Two balls and 2 strikes. Blue Jays scored 1 in the first, 6 in the second. Yankees got their only run in the 4th, a solo home run off the bat of Mark Teixeira. Blue Jays answered that with a run of their own in the 4th. Full count, 2 outs. Navarro has had a couple of RBIs tonight. He had an RBI double in the second, an RBI single in the 4th. Rasmus strikes out, 3 strikeouts in the inning for Sean Kelly. So we'll go to the 9th, first of 3 against the Yankees. The Blue Jays have an 8-1 lead. Chad Jenkins into the ball game to try to wrap it up. game on East Ontario, West End Pacific. It's connected. On Sportsnet 1, more baseball. John Lackey will go to the mound for the Red Sox out in Seattle against Felix Hernandez. Lackey is 8-4. Hernandez is 8-2. Another good baseball game coming up on Sportsnet 1. Chad Jenkins into the ball game, making his 11th appearance of the season.
Chad's done a very nice job for the Blue Jays. Last pitching inning in Cincinnati. In fact, over his last 9 appearances, he's only given up 8 hits. Batting average under 200. He'll continually pound you with that sinking fastball.
Kevin Pillar is into the game defensively in left field. He takes over for Melky Cabrera. He has just been recalled from AAA Buffalo. We are in the 9th. The Blue Jays jumped out early against Chase Whitley. Francisco Cervelli came into the ballgame as a defensive replacement. He is batting in the leadoff spot, Brett Gardner's place. He goes after the first pitch and swings right through it.
There it is, that power sinker from Chad Jenkins.
Way outside, it's 1-1. Good night for the hitters and a good night for the young pitcher Marcus Strowman.
Those might be the 2 stars of the game right there. Strowman with 8 innings, 3 hits, just 1 run. Adam Lynn with a couple of hits and a home run.
Lynn drove in the first run of the ball game with an RBI single, knocked in Melky Cabrera first run, and then Lynn in the second inning at a 3-run home run. Three and 1. Carlos Beltran, the DH, is on deck. Another good night for Melky Cabrera. 2 more hits tonight against his former ball club. There's a leadoff walk issued by Jenkins. With a man aboard and nobody out, now it's time for a preview of what's coming up next on Connected. Here's Ken Reed, Navarro Osmac. Thank you, Ken. That's coming up right after this ball game. Carlos Beltran has his first hit of the night. It follows the leadoff walk. So that'll bring Alfonso Soriano to the plate. Soriano entered the game as a defensive replacement. He is batting in the 3rd spot in the order.
He's got some power. Chad Jenkins pitched against the Yankees at Yankee Stadium back on the 18th. That was the game where it was 3-2 at the time, and Burley was pitching, gave up 2 earned runs. He only lasted a third of an inning.
Yeah, Yankees jumped on it very quickly. 3 hits, 3 runs in that third of an inning. The runs all scored after he was out of the game, and Brett Cecil came in and walked Ichiro Suzuki with the bases loaded. And then Brian McCann had the big 3-run triple that cleared the bases.
Those were his runs right there. No, now he's reaching back. He's throwing a little bit harder now with a couple of runners on base.
Nobody out. We're in the top of the 9th. It's a fly ball to left. Pilar broke back. Now he comes in and he gets there. Soriano's retired. It's the first out. top of the ninth. Marcus Strowman started this ball game, and he was impressive. He retired the side in order, retired the first 8 batters he faced, and he goes 8 strong innings, allows just 3 hits. The only run, a Mark Teixeira home run. He tied his career high with 7 strikeouts.
And I thought he got stronger as the night went along. He had a walk in the 6th inning, and then a double play ball, got out of that, then retired the side in order in the 7th, gave up a single in the 8th inning, and just kept using that fastball.
And Evis Solarte drives it into center, and Cervelli comes in to score. Solarte, he too came in as a defensive replacement. He gets an RBI single in his first at bat of the night.
Fastball. He knows he's going to get a fastball when it's 8-1, and he jumps all over it. And that base hit is going to get some movement out in the Blue Jays bullpen.
Well, for a second time, Chad Jenkins has had a rough start to his outing against the Yankees.
Aaron Loop was throwing last inning, so if they need him, I'm sure it won't take him that long to get ready.
B. Walker with some advice for the pitcher and the catcher. Mark Burley will start tomorrow night. We'll be on at 6:30 with the pregame show. That's Jamie Campbell and Greg's on. They'll set up the ball game, and then Burley and David Phelps will match up game 2 of this 3-game series. Brian McCann lifts a high fly into left. Pilar gets there, and that's the second out. McCann is 0 for 4.
Tell you, if you're Chad Jenkins, you want to walk off the field with your teammates right here. You don't want to have to get pulled for a relief pitcher. He's going to do everything he can to try and finish this thing off.
Kelly Johnson began the game as the third baseman. He was moved to left field. Johnson has gone 0 for 3. He was robbed of a base hit on a fine defensive play by Edwin Encarnacion.
Boy, when that sinker is down, tough to get the ball up into the air. Shoot for the thigh, and that ball's got that movement. It'll end up right at the bottom part of the strike zone.
This is popped up down the left side. This is trouble. It's going to fall in fair territory. Evan Pilar will play it back in. Beltran comes in to score. Kelly Johnson ends up at second with an RBI double. Solarte goes to third. And now John Gibbons has made his way out of the dugout, and he's going to have to take Chad Jenkins out of this ball game. Brian Roberts is a switch hitter, and he is the scheduled batter.
They have used everybody on their bench but Derek Jeter. Chad Jenkins cannot get that elusive final out.
Aaron Luke comes into the ballgame with 2 outs and 2 on. Brian Roberts, a switch hitter, will bat right-handed. When we come back, the Blue Jays have an 8-3 lead. I'm here at the Rogers Center. Disappointing outing for Chad Jenkins as he has given up 3 hits, a walk. He walked the leadoff man in the inning, and that started things on a downhill. So now Aaron Loup is into the game, making his 34th appearance.
Last work a couple of days ago in Cincinnati. We had an inning against the Cincinnati Reds. He's got the job of trying to retire Brian Roberts.
Roberts goes after the first pitch, and this should do it. 1 pitch for Loup, and the Blue Jays win it. It was all about the start of Marcus Strowman. He retired the first 8 batters he faced tonight. He goes 8 innings, allows 1 run on 3 hits, and the offense took it from there.
Yeah, they gave him a big lead early in the ballgame, 7 runs in the first 2 innings. He took it from there, and another part of the game that was very impressive was his defense. Edwin Encarnacion and Anthony Gose with great plays in the field to help